Book of Boba Fett is only 3 episodes into its 7-episode season, and it's already sparking interesting conversations, to say the least. One of these is that some feel Boba Fett has been watered down by Lucasfilm and Disney. Hi, I'm Gerald, and I'm a Star Wars fanatic. If you're new to my channel, go on and hit the subscribe button now to stay up to date on all my Star Wars content releases. Also, leave a comment to this video, and I'll pick one comment to highlight in my next video. Yes, I read all comments. With that said, let's get on with today's topic. Star Wars has been a controversial topic among fans since the 1995 special edition releases of the original trilogy. Some divided in enjoying the new changes, and some, on the other side, utterly despising them. Since that time, every new Star Wars release has been debated, heavily. The newest Star Wars release comes in the form of a series on Disney+, The Book of Boba Fett. It's 3 episodes in, and from the first episode, it has been getting hate from some and love from others. I've done a few rant videos on this division lately, and you can check out those rants in their own cute little playlist. I'll leave a link to that playlist in the description below. Please go check them out for context. With all the issues that haters have brought up is the fact that it seems Boba Fett has changed. Not just a little, they feel he has been weakened in the new Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and Robert Rodriguez-led series. Claims like, Boba Fett wouldn't have lost to this Tusken Raider, Boba Fett would have shot this guy or that alien, and why hasn't Boba Fett killed anyone? The old Boba Fett would have. So, let's take a look at these claims and why the choice was made to make Boba Fett different than he was in his old expanded universe. In Return of the Jedi, we see Luke Skywalker and friends rescue Han Solo from the clutches of the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt. The end of this rescue culminates in a battle over the Pit of Carkoon, the feeding spot of the almighty Sarlacc. As the battle ensues, Boba Fett leaps to action and is subsequently nudged by a blind Han Solo, and we see the best bounty hunter in the galaxy fall into the mouth of the beast. For a long time, this was the end of the story. There were stories from the old expanded universe that popped up about how Boba Fett survived, but even George Lucas saw those amazing stories as fan fictions. Placeholders in case he ever thought of something different. He always held the trump card, but I guess he never got around to using it. But with his sale of the Star Wars franchise to Disney, those glorified fan fictions were deemed as non-canonical, or legends. That means Boba Fett was back to being digested in the belly of the Sarlacc for the next 1,000 years. Or at least until 2021 when he re-emerged in the Mandalorian series. Now, we have a full-blown series and Boba Fett is back, but he's different. He looks older. The character is supposed to be in his 40s, but Boba Fett now looks like he's in his 50s. That's saying a lot because Tamira Morrison is 61 years old. And if you don't know, that's the man who plays Boba Fett. He's in great shape for his age. So his appearance has changed. What else? Well, in the first episode, we see Boba Fett get robbed by Jawas while he's unconscious and taken prisoner by Tuskens. During his time in the Tusken penal system, seriously, he was just tied up in the middle of their camp. Boba Fett attempted an escape. He was caught and beat up by a female Tusken warrior. Wait, what? A female kicked Boba Fett's ass? Yes, a female Tusken no less. This is a major complaint of the show. The old Boba Fett would not have been beaten by a Tusken in hand-to-hand fighting, let alone a female. At least that's what people are saying. I'm sorry, ladies, there seem to be some entitled dudes in the Star Wars fandom who don't have high opinions of women warriors or even that they should exist in Star Wars at all other than the rescued damsel. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Let's take this scene first before I move on to any others, if I move on to any others. Yes, Boba loses in hand-to-hand combat to this amazing Tusken warrior. At the time, I didn't realize it was a female, nor did I care when I found out. She's a badass, but the character uses a form of combat that is unique to the Tuskens, a form of combat unfamiliar to anyone who didn't train with the tribe. But Boba Fett is the baddest godlike human ever created, right? And he should have been able to beat her, right? In the old expanded universe, where the main characters of those stories were all overly powerful and had plot armor so thick the Death Star couldn't crack it. Yes, of course Boba Fett would have won, but now we are seeing a more human derivative of the once great bounty hunter, a wounded Boba Fett who is showing signs that his injuries are deeper than surface level. Oh, come on, you're making excuses for lazy writing. But is it lazy writing to make someone more believable with limitations due to a traumatic experience? Or is it lazy to assume he'd never be changed? Ever? And if that was the case, there'd be no need to make new content about Boba Fett at all. They could just deem his old stories canon and move on. But no, they want to make him realistic. Yes, he's still a badass. Yes, he is going to show that. But fighting one Tusken, winning, then taking on the rest of the Tusken tribe, only to chalk up another victory, because this is what some people want. Just after emerging from the Sarlacc, those are high tales, even for a story set in a fictitious galaxy. Instead, he was defeated but not killed. He was then accepted into their tribe, and he learned their ways, including their ways of fighting. One other thing, Boba Fett was unarmed during that fight. If someone is saying he would have beaten her, how many times has he been unarmed in a fight in the past? Well, he never took his armor off, so there's that, and that's one of the complaints of the new Boba Fett. I could go on and on about the complaints, criticisms, and incessant bitching about Boba Fett and the new show, but I'll just say this. Yes, Boba Fett is changed. Yes, he's a bit weaker. We can see after 5 years he still isn't fully recovered from the Sarlacc. You can see scars all over him from it, and you can see that he still relies on the Bacta tank to heal. Now, he has to be smarter. He isn't just a bounty hunter anymore with brute strength. He's the head of a crime family, and his actions dictate what happens to those around him. To go blasting everyone who opposes him would end in his own death and those around him. He wouldn't be able to fight all the crime bosses just for killing one of their people. But he's building his family. He's learning how to keep his cool until he doesn't have to keep his cool anymore. We're going to see Boba Fett kick ass again, just wait for it. So what? He lost a fight to a female Tusken who was better equipped and in better health than Boba Fett. So what? He was attacked by the Red Pajama Boys and they held their own until their defenses were broken, at which time we witnessed Boba Fett beat a few of their asses, and he even disintegrated one. That seems pretty badass to me, and wait until he rides a Rancor down the city streets to confront his enemies. Then he rides that Rancor again into battle, full armor, all gadgets blazing. But yes, Boba Fett is fundamentally different than we saw him in the Legends material. But let's use an analogy to understand why. Let's say you were dangerous in your youth. You would race down dark, windy streets, testing your limits. You want to be known as fearless and badass. You gain that reputation through making other people poop themselves when you were driving with them. Yet, you always seem to come out on top. One evening, you're speeding down a dark road. It had rained a little bit earlier. You miscalculate one of the turns and your car spins out of control. It hits a guardrail. Because of your actions that evening, you end up in the hospital. You awake from a coma days later, and it takes you years to recover from your injuries. You've had numerous surgeries, and you're still stiff in places you didn't even know existed. But you survived. Barely, and luckily, but you still survived. What's your next move? Are you going to return to your old lifestyle and accept challenges from everyone that comes at you? Are you going to disregard what you've been through? Or are you going to take it as a sign that it's time to slow down? I dare any of you to say this moment would not fundamentally change you. And this is why Boba Fett seems different. And not because he was in a car wreck, because of the Sarlacc. Let's put the two together. You're going to say this has nothing to do with Star Wars, but it does. It has everything to do with the human psyche. If you want the old Boba Fett from the Legends material to return as he was, you're asking for a less than realistic character. You're asking for lazy writing. What you're getting is profoundly deeper than what any of us expected. So stop being superficial and watch the story develop. You'll eventually get what you want. Be patient. Okay, at this time, I'd like to give a shout out to the highlighted comment from the video titled, "The Book of Boba Fett is Trash. Robert Rodriguez ruined Boba Fett." The comment author is Aaron Kelly, and he has this to say about the Vespa scooter gang. They aren't looking to race around. Their bikes are designed to draw attention. Their mods are to make them more efficient. They can see better, hear better, and survive better. Why not look good while doing that? Could they have picked faster speeder, maybe swoops? Yeah, sure, but they never intended to ride these bikes flat out across the Dune Sea. They want to ride around town looking cool. which they do very well, even if their kind of cool doesn't match what the older kids thought was cool. Okay, great comment on that, Aaron. Thank you. And I couldn't agree more. And for some to say they look out of place, it's a made-up fantasy land. Get over it. Everything doesn't have to be drab, just because that's what we've been shown for so long, and that's what we're used to. We don't dictate where the fantasy land takes us. If anyone out there wants to dictate the content that should be made into Star Wars stories, then try your ass off to write for Lucasfilm. Tell them how much you hate what they do while applying for one of their jobs and see how far you get. Or make your own fan fictions and consider them canon. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. This is Gerald with Star Wars Fanatic signing off and wishing you all good health and fortune. Thank you for watching, and remember, this is the way, the only way.